As noted in Lecture 2, a language learning objective is not openly declared in definitions of EMI, making it different from other content-based approaches to teaching English, such as CLIL. However, many universities make reference to the language learning benefits of EMI, indicating an expectation that English language proficiency will develop in tandem with subject discipline knowledge. My own research has shown that this is the main reason students enrol in EMI programs, to improve their English proficiency. On the other hand, many EMI programs provide little institutional support for the language-related needs of their students, assuming that language entry requirements for these courses act in a suitable gatekeeping capacity to ensure students are able to study through the medium of English. As outlined, however, there are various approaches to EMI, and some universities do build in language support into program structures, operating more similarly to a CLIL curriculum in higher education. In addition to driving forces at the institutional level, research has reported that there are also a number of perceived benefits of EMI at the personal level. Hu and Lei's study, the case study in an EMI program at a Chinese university, found that faculty and students perceived EMI as having national, including improved international perspective and connections with the international community, institutional, such as improved rankings, and personal benefits, mastery of English, enhanced graduate social mobility and employability. In Europe, Wachter and Maywarn's study of universities revealed that perceived benefits included improved international profile of the institution, strengthening of cooperation with foreign partner universities, improvement of assistance, guidance, advice for foreign students. For students, they included improved mastery of English, closer interaction with teachers, increased mobility opportunities, good preparation for working in an international and intercultural environment, higher employability, and better networking. Some also noted that these courses increase the quality of education by attracting or recruiting better qualified staff and students. In Japan and China, my own research found that the perceived benefits for individuals included improved English proficiency, in addition to content knowledge, intercultural understanding and global awareness, global citizenship, enhanced career opportunities, and also staff employment. Indeed, in Japan, all the mixed initiatives mentioned thus far make reference, in some way, to the need for Japanese tertiary students to develop a more outwardly orientated international perspective. A common buzzword in these documents in Japan is global jinsai, variously defined as globally competent human resources and international competencies and cultural understanding. EMI in Japan is also undoubtedly driven by the student's own motivation to learn in English, thereby creating a demand for EMI courses. Brown suggests that future employability and the desire to engage in further study are motivating factors for student enrolments, while Chappell notes that students view EMI as a way to make foreign friends and simply improve their English. However, as noted, the increase in provision of EMI has unfortunately not been accompanied with empirical research, and without such research, these perceived benefits cannot be guaranteed. However, despite the many perceived benefits, EMI requires careful planning to avoid unrealistic expectations and disappointment, and we need to be wary of it becoming a fashionable policy, as the perceived positive outcomes cannot be guaranteed. The lack of research measuring the outcomes of EMI is also concerning, particularly given the large amount of funding from the government to expand provision in places like Japan, as well as a number of challenges that have been documented. Linguistic challenges to EMI, for both staff and students, are the most frequently cited in the literature. A lack of English proficiency has been reported to influence student performance in a number of ways, including having detrimental effects on subject learning and understanding lessons and lectures, taking a longer time to complete the course, resulting in an increased chance of dropout, problems communicating disciplinary content, answering fewer questions, code switching into their mother tongue, and an overall resistance to EMI. In light of such challenges, there have been recent calls for an examination of the challenges faced by students in EMI contexts. In Japan, for example, Narita, Saito, and Terashima question whether Japanese undergraduates have sufficient English proficiency to study their majors in English. These studies refer to issues such as limited vocabulary in reading and listening skills. Taguchi and Naguma also note that domestic students often feel unprepared for EMI. The typical Japanese undergraduate comes from a background of high school English language classes, and students in this study reported having issues listening for long periods, as well as the amount of reading required of them. Also in Japan, Suzuki et al. Note that the main issue for Japanese students in EMI programs relates to the demand for spontaneous speech production. As noted, while different universities take different approaches to EMI, needs analysis is crucial to examine the different levels of students in EMI classes, as well as their backgrounds. CEFR B2 is often seen as a starting point, and it's been suggested that B1 students can also succeed if they have extra support. While such measures of English proficiency are not without controversy, instructors and program administrators alike should question whether the typical Japanese high school graduate is at such a level and able to study subject matter in English. Typically, students are required to reach a certain English language proficiency level before being admitted to the programme. And as I've noted, it's often assumed that since they have this desired entrance requirement, then they can move seamlessly from learning English as an additional language to studying content matter in the medium of English, including understanding lectures, textbooks, and taking part in small group discussions, taking exams in English and writing essays in English. However, as noted, academic English proficiency has been found to influence students' performance in a number of ways. In Japan, the STEP Eiken test is popular, and it's been suggested that Pre-2 level is roughly equal to CEFR A2 level. This is a full level below B1. However, in 2015, MEXT reported that only 11.5% of high school graduates had achieved this. Students in EMI programs, whatever their nationality or English proficiency level, require support. This is further complicated by the internationalised nature of the EMI classroom, and as it's been reported in Japan, domestic students feel less able to keep up in EMI classes if there's a mixed domestic and international student body. Globalisation has led to a changed educational context in which a rich diversity of students from different educational, cultural and linguistic backgrounds study together at many institutions around the world. In the context of EMI programs in countries where English is not the dominant language, the situation is even more complex. As I've pointed out in my own work, taking an EMI class alongside international students provides students from a traditionally monolingual classroom with an opportunity to use English as a lingua franca. International students may have limited or no proficiency in the local language, and we have to recognise that students are often communicating using English as a lingua franca. As noted in Lecture 5, studies have reported on both the provision of and attitudes towards the support offered to students on EMI programmes. However, Macaro et al. Call for more research into the challenges faced by students in EMI contexts. Indeed, the internationalization of higher education has come under criticism in recent years. This is particularly the case in native English-speaking nations, which have been accused of adopting a highly commercial approach to international students. True internationalization should take into account the needs of the students and also ensure that they have the support necessary to study through the medium of English. A few studies have been conducted on staff and student attitudes towards EMI. Some report positive attitudes, but others report faculty and student resistance to EMI. Studies have also been conducted in Japan, yet there's overall a scarcity of research compared to the European context. Research has also revealed that the attitudes of key stakeholders differ. In my own research, students perceived EMI as a means to improve their English proficiency. Faculty, however, saw it as an instructional approach to delivering content through English. Such differences influenced their attitudes towards language policy in the EMI classroom. Faculty believed that code switching into the student's mother tongue was a helpful tool to help students understand difficult concepts. Students, on the other hand, viewed this as a sign of their instructor's limited English competence. Overall, despite the push towards EMI, there exists a large number of environmental constraints, including teacher training, materials, and a variety of other factors, and language-related challenges. With no openly declared language learning objective, EMI is different to other approaches to teaching English, such as CLIL. However, it's clear that for many universities this is one of the objectives, and as I've noted, one of the main reasons students sign up. Despite this, however, the lack of support for students is problematic, as is the assumption that because students can pass an entrance exam, they can manage to study content through English. There's clearly a number of perceived benefits for students, but overall there's a scarcity of research examining language gains in EMI settings, and the research that has been conducted is not positive. There's also clearly a number of reported challenges for students, and EMI requires careful planning to avoid unrealistic expectations and disappointment. So that's the end of Lecture 7, looking at EMI from the perspective of students. In Lecture 8, we'll move on to look at EMI from the perspective of management and administration in universities delivering EMI programmes. Thank you.